Hey folks and fellow collectors, I'm Anthony with Anthony's Comic Book Art. And in growing the brand that is Anthony's Comic Book Art, I am opening the doors to repping new artists. Artists that are working for Marvel DC and have a track record of great pages that I can sell, okay? And this new artist that we have an interview with and an announcement that's coming up is a guy I've known for a long time and respected in the business. I think he's one of the best inkers in the business, period. So this is the kind of art that we have available for you. We're gonna come back to that after the interview and announcement, so stay tuned. Hey fellow collectors, I'm Anthony with Anthony's Comic Book Art, and today we have a special announcement of a new artist coming on board the Anthony's Comic Book Art family. Now, this is a guy I've known for many years, and I'm just ecstatic to be working with him. Jay Leiston. Jay Leiston.
How's it going, Anthony?
Come on aboard. Yeah. There you are, Mr. Leiston.
Good to be working with you.
A man who I think is one of the premier inkers in the business today. Really defines the look of the artist, the pencil artist he works over, an artist in his own right that just makes things better, makes that art better, and defines the look for those guys that he works with. So welcome aboard, Jay.
Thanks, Anthony. It's good to talk to you again.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. Now, let's talk about some of the stuff that's going to be made available immediately. I just have that batch in. We did a deal to get started of those DPSs, and then I just got the shipment in of a box of Symbiote SpiderMan.
Yep, and then
how do they say it in Kentucky? How do they say it in Kentucky? Symbiote or symbiote?
Symbiote. Yeah, it's the hard
symbiote. It's a symbiote Spider-Man. Yeah. All right, so that's a series you've been doing over Greg Land, who's a staple penciler for you. Somebody that you've really made a career with. You know, this guy. How many issues do you think you've done over Greg?
How many issues?
Do you even know?
We do about 10 a year, and we've been working together since 2002. So, close to 200, I'd say.
Do the math.
Give or take. Yeah. So,
that's awesome. Well, I mean, I got good response from the double page spreads that we put out there, and you did some stuff over McNiven and then some Lightbox stuff. But this first batch of stuff that we have, the Symbiote Spider-Man and some Wolverine Sabretooth battle pages, which I haven't even gotten up yet, and 2 of them have sold. Nice, right?
Yeah, those were a lot of fun. Yeah, we get to do like some gray wash stuff and play around a little bit since it was a black and white book with just the red accent.
Oh, really? Black and white book. I hadn't picked it up. When was that published?
I think that came out in January. It was right around Christmas. That was something that Marvel put together over the COVID summer, basically.
Oh, so it was I'm Dreaming of a Red Christmas.
Yeah. Exactly.
Slicey. Yeah. All right. So now both of these books, it was interesting you pointed out that are flashback forward books.
Yeah,
where they
exactly.
Like the Wolverine was based on Wolverine 10, classic issue, and that kind of picks the storyline up at that point and moves forward. And I remember I used to have some pages from that issue. I think I actually did have the page where Wolverine goes, "I'm your daddy." and people, for a while, Sabretooth was Wolverine's dad in the MCU, I think.
Yeah, because actually when you had those pages, I think that wasn't the first time you and I talked, but it was early on because I was trying to pick up one of those myself, and I think they sold too quick for me to get a hold of.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it was a while ago, though. So we've known each other like, I don't know, 20 years, maybe?
Yeah, close to it. I started collecting art before I actually started working professionally, like late 90s. Started buying up pages that I would find here and there at shows to learn and try to get better. So.
Oh, interesting. Oh, so you were collecting examples of inkers there. I mean, were you just focused on trying to be an inker, right, to break into the market then?
Sort of. Like, my portfolio was built mostly around inking, and then I also did some painting and then penciling as well. When I broke in through Top Cow, the plan was sort of to do inking for them and then also pencil some backgrounds, which I did at times, and to try and sort of transition at some point maybe into being a penciler. But over time, it just kind of became apparent that my best use was being an inker. More efficient use of my time, and I had a lot of skills there that I could use to enhance other people's work. And when I tried to make a run at penciling around 2009 with Marvel, I did a couple of projects where I would get very loose layouts and pencil from those. The process just takes me longer than it takes the average penciler. So it made more sense just to,
that is kind of a determining factor on whether people, artists, like yourself, can, be a penciler. Just, I mean, how fast you can get that page by page basis.
Yeah.
And some people just are an accelerated, in the inking stage. I mean, when you say you have skills to enhance those people you work with, being a slow penciler isn't one of them, right?
Right.
So and as an inker, what do you think that strongest that skill is?
For me, it's mostly the rendering and the light change. Like, I can do a lot to play around with different types of techniques for inking, like the grayscale washes that we do with Greg sometimes, or even with McNiven. Changing up the line variability. Like with McNiven, we wanted to do a bit more of a Barry Windsor Smith thing at one point, so I was changing how I laid down the lines and what tools I was using to specifically try and recreate some of that textural line that Barry was so good at.
I'd like to see some examples of that. Yeah. Which jobs was that?
Death of Wolverine was a big one for that, and then Return of Wolverine, we kind of laid into it heavy.
You like the whole Weapon X aesthetic of the Barry Smith?
Yeah. I looked at a lot of the Dastra book at that time. And
Dastra?
Yeah. Have you seen that? That's sort of, it was a Barry Windsor Smith Storm story that I think he.
Oh, yeah. I used to have pages from that. So, yeah, where she first went Mohawk, right?
Yeah.
The very first one, 180, 93. Oh, where'd you go? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, sorry. I'm on my iPhone. So a phone call come through and it kind of kicked me off for just a second.
I looked at that issue yesterday. That first one, that first solo cover.
Yeah.
As I sort through comics, because in the multiverse that is Anthony's comic book art, I do everything from dollar books to $10,000 covers for Esad and yourself. This great new art. Now, when you say, I love the light source that you do with that kind of stuff with Greg Land, and I think that really makes the whole look of it, is sourced lighting. As a former professional visual artist in photography, I see that immediately. I just, that's like, oh wow, light source. Who else is doing that? But in McNiven, you're really clean, so clean. Like the couple of those double page spreads I got from you were just like, I don't know. I want to say like Scott Williams-y. Williams-y.
That's a huge honor. I love Scott. I was trying to go for a bit more technical work on the Inhumans and then the Captain America stuff specifically. That was very heavily Travis Charest kind of influenced.
Yeah, I love his work, and I mean, how do you define Travis at his best? I mean, that's an interesting guy to bring up.
Yeah. The stuff, especially on that Wildcats X-Men stuff, was just really special. I think he got an almost infinite amount of time for one, and that allowed him to try different techniques with the watered down ink in his tech pens, and the gray wash that he was doing was pretty special. Like, that's really hard to recreate. That sort of granite texture that he had, it was very difficult, because it's like you have to use pencil shading and then go over it with water, and then you cut into it with alcohol. Like, there's all these tricks to make that happen. It just, you can only do if you have an almost infinite amount of time for a project like that.
Well, I know those pages from that job at Wolverine Wildcats are very desirable. I've had a few over the years, not any lately. I mean, they're pretty locked up in collection. People that have them really appreciate having them. So, Jay, the other batch of stuff that we have in, and it'll be going up this week, is the Symbiote SpiderMan. And again, that's a black costume pickup from Secret Wars 8 that you were explaining to me, right? Yeah. So it's like a flashback forward sort of storyline. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so that kind of started, Greg and I were talking about projects that we wanted to do next after our most recent run with X-Men that we were doing, and kind of wanted to do a Spider-Man book. And we'd always had good experience with Nick Lowe, Devin Lewis over there. So we brought that up, and they said, well, Peter David had this idea that he kind of wanted to do to go back to a couple of ideas from the late 80s that he had that they never really got to during his run. And is there a way we could kind of merge those two things to get a book going? And so we came up with this as an idea leading into the whole King in Black idea and all the Venom stuff that had been working. We wanted to do a Peter story that could sort of tie all that stuff together in some way. So we started with the regular Symbiote Spider-Man title that was a 5-issue miniseries with an oversized first issue. When that came out, it did fantastic. So Marvel immediately greenlit a second one, which was called Alien Realities, which jumped forward a little bit, and it started to show the tattered edges of Venom coming into form. And one of our concepts here was that instead of Venom leaving him and moving to a new host, he stays to battle with Venom to continue to use the suit in a way that Peter Parker would use it, as opposed to, say, Eddie Brock, who's got a little bit more anger issues, or Flash Thompson, or someone else that might.
Oh, interesting. I didn't understand that. That's really cool. So it's used for the power of good in Peter Parker, where it started out before it went to Eddie Brock, who was a criminal and became a criminal villain. I mean, a villain. That's interesting. That's cool. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll tell you, from the selling comic books perspective, I mean, Venom, there's no more popular character than Venom in the Spider-Man universe. I mean, or just in comics in general, it's like, or even like the secondary character of like Carnage, the 361 has gone from, $70, $80 9.8 to a $700, $800, $900, $1,000 9.8. So we've all profited, based on the popularity of the Venom symbiote type of what would you call it, a genre, or I
think a subgenre of Spider-Man is a good way to put it.
Yeah, the black costume Spider-Man basically is where, when I have black costume pages from vintage stuff, they sell really well. They don't stay around, but, so I mean, and that's like, when did Venom come out? It's like it's that generational nostalgia of like the guys in their I guess what would you be when you were 10 years old when Venom came out? What was that, around 92, 93? Oh, it was 88.
The Todd McFarlane stuff was around 88, 89. And I think the first Bagley book was 92, if I remember correctly. So,
yeah, that's what I was more thinking about, like that early
40-year-old.
That took hold. Yeah, that Bagley read, what was it, Lethal Enforcer?
Yeah.
Lethal Protector. One of those.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, how long do you think? So I've got a nice batch of that stuff. It seems like there's a lot of good guest stars. I know there's a Kang splash in there, and he's kind of like a Cimmerian Marvel character that people are thinking might be used in the MCU film film department.
Rocket coming in there, and then eventually this all ties back into King in Black for the newest series. So you've got some stuff with Null that's going to be popping up, and that's an interesting character too.
Null from Thor?
Yeah.
And who did those first Null issues?
I'm not sure. Do you know?
Wasn't Null introduced in Essad's run?
It might have been. Yeah, that would make sense.
Gore and Null and yay, yeah. I remember selling that Gore cover. I mean, it was just like a Gore cover for next to nothing as far as like, and now it's so hot. Like, but you know what? That's the kind of it's a kind of phenomenon in comics and how comics get hot is that it's really hard to make a new superhero. It's just really hard to make a new popular superhero, but comics and such seem to get hot based on first appearances of villains. I mean, if you take Spider-Man 300, that's the first appearance of a villain. That's first appearance of Venom, or Spider-Man 361, first Carnage, or first Gore, first all these different comics get really hot based on first appearance of villains. More often, you have the Marvel #1s, but that was in the early 60s. And then, you have these smatterings of these first appearance villains type things that create hot comics.
Yeah, well, I think villains are far more interesting usually, and they sort of solidify who the hero is. So the better that villain is, and the more you can kind of relate to them, but at the same time despise them. Like, that's the key. It's finding that happy middle ground between the two that really draws people's attention to who that villain is, and then therefore how is the hero going to deal with that without breaking their own moral code.
Oh yeah, sure, that moral code. The basis of Superman and Batman.
Yep.
Not. I don't know. Well, I mean, that's funny, that moral code. Batman won't use a gun, right? But then that last movie, he had, mini guns on his Batmobile that were killing everything.
Yeah. Yeah, well, things change when you got to sell a movie.
Yeah. And are you looking forward to the Snyder Cut?
We'll see.
Or not really.
I kind of joke about I'm going to watch it. I kind of joke about the Zack Snyder floating ashes thing, because that's one of his atmospheric texture techniques that he does. Whenever he really needs to slow things down and make you think, he'll put this floating ash just kind of fluttering through like snowflakes, and I'm gonna see how much of that's in there. Just like the old Bruckheimer Bay sunsets with the big orange sun behind a helicopter. You knew who made that movie because that always happened.
Or the explosions behind Transformer guy.
Yep, exactly.
Anyway, well, I am just ecstatic to have you on board, Jay. And, I think this is going to work out very well. We are adapting to the New World Order here. And I'm trying to do my best in getting the brand out there. And you certainly contribute to the brand. Yeah. And I appreciate that and your confidence and coming on board. All right. So we're looking forward to a lot of sales and a lot of availability of the Jay Leiston work in the near future. So get that stuff moving towards me, and we'll get it up right away and start getting those checks to you. All right.
Sounds good, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. You take care, Jay. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Jay. That's awesome. Now we're following up with the artwork that we have available and going up on his rep gallery tonight. Tonight and tomorrow, this should all be up. So we have Wolverine and Sabretooth pages, and Wolverine, Logan, the cool Logan, and some Kang, and a Kang splash, symbiote Spider-Man, some character pages. Oh, look at that, magic. And the book. Wow, Mordo, that's cool. And then look, there's Nightmare and Black Costume Spider-Man and Steve Jobs. What's he doing there? He's magic. All right, Black Costume, Nightmare, and who do we have here? Oh, geniuses down through the ages. Ben Franklin, Da Vinci, Einstein. Really cool. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful representations of those guys. Oh, Mordo and Black Cat. Black Costume Spidey. Oh, Nightmare Splash. Wow. If he would have been on that last episode of Wanda, oh my goodness, that'd be worth triple. Black Costume Spidey, Daily Bugle. Is that the Watcher? What happened to the Watcher? Oh, he's on the moon. Oh, look at that odd Red Sonja and Ash. I guess that's Dynamite-y. Is that Dynamite that has those licenses now? All right, so, oh, Venom-y. Look at that. Beautiful work, beautiful work. Some character pages, some Black Costume. J. Jonah. Look at that. So these were, oh, look at her. Talk about a topical character. And there she is again. Some more of her. Look at that. So these will all be going up with prices. They are all double signed. Jay signed them down here. Greg Land always signs on the back with the date he completed it. And that is what we have to start our repped assortment of artwork from Jay Leiston. Awesome, very excited about it. Happy to be here. So I'm Anthony with Anthony's Comic Book Art. You keep calm, you keep collecting, and check out the new rep gallery of Jay Leiston.